We are back with our midweek NFL DFS update, and we're adjusting our core based on matchup shifts and news since yesterday's video. Quarterback first. We're pivoting our primary spend up from Jared Goff to Josh Allen at 7,200. The dash rank is 100. He's averaging 25 fantasy points per game, and he's posted 25, 38, and 18 in his last three with a 22-point projection. He draws Cleveland, who have a tough defense overall by opponent rank at 8, but Allen's projection is reliable given his full season sample, and he keeps a dual path to points regardless of game script. The news cycle reinforces the ceiling. National pieces this week reiterated that Josh Allen is widely regarded as one of the NFL's top quarterbacks, and the MVP chatter after a stellar Bills win underlines form. We're paying for ceiling and correlation access to Bills stacks. For a punt QB, we're swapping yesterday's Cameron Ward flyer to Gardner Minshew at 4,500 for the largest field builds only. He faces Tennessee, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank at 28, and he's projected 16. But recent box scores have shown zeros, so this is entirely contingent on role. The midweek reporting that the Chiefs shuffled quarterbacks in practice and Andy Reid publicly outlining Minshew's game day role with Mahomes are the only reasons to sprinkle him. If there's no late news suggesting snaps, keep exposure minimal and leverage him strictly in game theory builds. Running back, no change at the top. We're sticking with Devon Achane at 8,800. He carries a 100 dash rank, averages 22 fantasy points per game, has gone 9, 18, and 22 in his last three, and his projection ticked up to 23. He gets Cincinnati, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank at 31. The why hasn't changed since yesterday. Explosive profile with both rushing and receiving utility, matchup-driven ceiling, and corroborating league sentiment. Reports that he drew significant trade interest at the deadline speak to how teams value his big play rate, and this is the kind of defense he can break. For value RB, we're adding Aaron Jones Sr. at 5,200. Dash rank is 89 with recent 10, 8, and 6 and a 13-point projection against the Giants, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank at 29. The case is simple, price-adjusted floor with proven production history. Coverage this week re-upped his profile as consistently reliable in fantasy and noted his move to Minnesota, and this matchup grants a favorable path to touches and red zone chances at a mid-range salary. At wide receiver, we're rotating off yesterday's Nico Collins core and onto Rashee Rice at 7,400. He's a 100 dash rank wideout, averaging 19 fantasy points per game, with recent 12, 7, and 29. And a 16-point projection. He draws Tennessee, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank at 28. We like the game environment for volume, the WIAC-friendly role, and the correlation with our preferred defense. Importantly, the news around last week's hit and the league's punishment decision indicates no additional discipline, which keeps his playing time path clear. Value WR. Trey Harris at 3,300 is our deep dart. He gets Dallas, who have the absolute worst defense overall by opponent rank at 32. He's projected for 3 with recent 8, 3, and 6. The appeal is pure salary relief with a viable game environment and team need on the perimeter. He ended his brief holdout and signed his rookie deal, which supports integration continuing to trend up. Use only when you need a punt to unlock studs. Tight end is a switch from yesterday. We're moving from Kyle Pitts Sr. to Trey McBride at 7,600. The dash rank is 100. He averages 20 fantasy points per game. He just posted 40s after an 11 and 22, and he's projected for 18. He faces Atlanta, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank at 20. The why is role and volume. Recent reporting noted McBride has a shot at the record books and highlighted that he's leading all tight ends in key receiving categories as he pushes toward All-Pro consideration. That combination of usage and form gives us both a high floor and true slate-breaking ceiling at TE. We're keeping Darren Waller as our value TE and a viable flex at 3,500. He's projected 11 against Cincinnati, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank at 31, with recent 2, 3, and 7. The logic remains price-driven leverage in Miami stacks. This week's coverage that his return isn't over yet supports the idea he remains in the mix for snaps and red zone looks at a discount in an elite matchup. Top flex changes today. We're rotating from Bijan to Omarion Hampton at 5,800. He's a 100 dash rank option with a 13-point projection and recent 8, 12, and 13, drawing Dallas, who have the absolute worst defense overall by opponent rank at 32. At this salary, the floor from his recent usage plus the matchup-driven touchdown path is compelling. And Hampton's inclusion also enables balanced builds around Allen and Akane without sacrificing correlation. If you need a stone min punt in the flex, Darius Davis at 3,000 fits only for massive field tournaments. He faces Dallas, who have the absolute worst defense overall by opponent rank at 32, but he carries a tiny projection and recent fantasy logs with zeros. This is a gadget and return TD swing. News profiles this week revisited his impact as a return specialist, so if he's confirmed active, you're betting on a splash play at no salary cost. Otherwise, pass. Defense. We're aligning with our Rice exposure and moving to the Chiefs at 3,300. They face Tennessee, who have one of the worst defenses overall by opponent rank at 28. Opponent rank is a defensive stat, so for DST we care more about our defense's ability to pressure and about correlation with our pass game exposure. This is a team form and correlation play that also benefits from a favorable game script for sacks. For a pure salary saver at DST, the Raiders at 2,000 are in play. They draw Houston, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall by opponent rank at 13. At this price, you're banking on variance, short fields, and a path to 5 or 6 points to make the rest of your lineup work. Quick recap of what changed and why versus yesterday. We elevated Josh Allen over Jared Goff for ceiling in a tougher matchup because the projection is stable and the news reinforces elite form. We kept Devon Achane as the top RB because the Cincinnati matchup is one of the worst defenses overall and his projection improved. We pivoted WR to Rashee Rice for matchup and correlation, supported by news that cleared further discipline. We moved TE to Trey McBride on record-chasing volume per this week's reporting. We shifted flex to Omarion Hampton to exploit Dallas as the absolute worst defense overall while balancing salary. And we're now pairing Rice with the Chiefs' defense for correlation. Value updates feature Gardner Minshew only as a late news punt, Aaron Jones Sr. as steady mid-range value in a favorable matchup, Trey Harris as the deep WR dart, Darren Waller as a cheap TE or flex in an elite TE matchup, and the Raiders as the cap relief defense.